Scorpio. This is your March 2025 soul story. If you have a sun, rising, or moon in the sign, this is your reading. Thanks so much for joining me. It's Romy here. We are going to open up for you this month with the energy of the King of Swords. You know, you're not who you were, and maybe that's the point. You know, there at times needs to be a little bit of a protective armor that you deploy in certain situations. You know, life can be up on us sometimes, and it's not about losing that soft heart, but it is about recognizing that in order to navigate the pathways in the current collective energy, you know, there is a resiliency that's needed. And, you know, the energy of March has this kind of power surge coming through. Astrologically speaking, we've got Venus and Mercury retrograde, we've got eclipse energies coming in. And that's all against the backdrop of what is shifting and changing so dramatically in the world. And this is a time for you to think seriously about what it's going to take to help you to rebalance your life. And it's almost like the seriousness with which you are really considering that, and the energy that's required is, you know, not taking away from actually sometimes making the tough decisions to then support a more peaceful outcome or resolution. It's almost just like, you know, the song of your soul is looking for more meaning and more depth at this moment in time. But I think that that King of Swords can really advocate for you and help to just kind of cut through a lot of the BS that surrounds you to really identify what it is, what it's going to take, what's required. Now listen, Venus retrograde from the beginning of the month on the 1st in Aries affords us the next 40 days and 40 nights to go deeper. And, you know, there's a lot of reflective thinking going on. And in a way, I think that, you know, your King of Swords can help you detach a little bit and almost like witness some of the experiences and the things that have gone on and that are continuing to go on around you. And just give you a different perspective or lens with which to process them. You're getting to know parts of yourself during this cycle, perhaps revisiting things, and definitely cast your mind back to 8 years ago, because there's similar themes that come up with this Venus in Aries that perhaps you're now looking at afresh, having got the experience, the knowledge that's been gained in all of these years. And, you know, I think that there's something that is inherently disruptive about March, but that doesn't have to be negative. It may feel like your world is changing, it may feel like things are uprooting, and that's not easy. But at the same time, we have a degree of renewal and resiliency. And I think that, you know, the light that can come through this month, especially as we welcome equinox, is bringing warmth and a new clarity and motivation for you. Now you have the Two of Swords here, and it just feels like you have a bit of a choice or a decision to make. Now maybe it is pertaining to this King of Swords, and this also could be somebody that's just struggling to really articulate the way that they feel, or maybe they've been a little bit difficult or a bit challenging. They're certainly looking away from you, but at the same time it feels like you're inextricably bound in some way. And so there's a choice or a crossroads moment. And I think, again, you're sort of weighing up the balance in your world, the degree to which this can impact you, depending on what the next step is. And, you know, this is a month where it's one step at a time, one thought, one decision. And at the same time realizing that the universe can come in and make these really significant trajectory shifts. And eclipse energies can sometimes sort of pull the rug from beneath us a little bit, and that can be a bit disconcerting, but at the same time it can also almost help us to see something completely differently. I always use the analogy of this sort of being in a dark room, and when the light gets switched back on after an eclipse, it's like everything has changed. The furniture is moved, the window is in a different place, and it's just like you see everything completely anew. And as we work up to the lunar eclipse full moon in Virgo, you know, there's a requirement for you to release judgment, to release criticism, both applied to the self, but then perhaps also to external situations as well. The realization again that, you know, there's also a nourishment that's needed. And this is why I'm saying that, you know, beneath some of the more tumultuous energy that is being deployed through the month of March, there is this part of you that wants to live and move with more purpose and possibility. And, you know, the soul of your soul, the calling is strong this month towards things that, you know are where you need to be or what you need to be doing. We've got Empress energy here, and she's almost like holding her hand up going, enough, enough, Scorpio, enough. So where do we feel that? Where are we just going, no more of this. This is done. I'm over this. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to feel this way anymore. Because there's quite an empowered expression that comes through from her. So even if you feel slightly in limbo or in that sort of indecisive state, it still leads you directly towards a moment where you actually get more clarity and more purpose. And, you know, I think that through that, the resiliency that's sort of built also reminds you that it's a time to be sort of wildly awake and remember who you are. And, you know, perhaps you've just been reactive and responsive to certain situations. Your Empress grants you permission to step back into that full sovereign self and kind of claim something, speak up. Now we've got the three figures there. Remember, eclipses often bring things in three. You may even feel like you're being split in multiple directions in regards to something underway in the month of March. Now remember, we also have Mercury going retrograde on the 14th under the light of that lunar eclipse. So there's a lot of sort of looking back in order to be able to take the next step forward. It's almost like you're not paralyzed, but it's simply impossible to kind of clear the way until you acknowledge or revisit something. And that reflection is profound, because maybe it just reminds you, I'm not that person anymore, or I don't want to be that person anymore. So there's something super valuable. Now remember, these retrograde energies can also bring things back from the past, and Venus especially is going to be disrupting on the relationships in your world, and you know, perhaps they need that shake up. But again, it helps you to see yourself in the way that you're showing up in relationships, but also to observe and view others. But of course, that Virgo energy is, you know, also inviting you to bring a different type of response to the interactions and the communication. So there's an intensity that is absolutely underway in March, astrologically speaking. A little bit of a Pandora's box, if you like. We're not quite sure how things land and how they're going to impact you personally. Now, you have your Page of Pentacles here. You are reaching for something, but it feels slightly out of reach. That gold coin represents something that is wanted, that is desired. And remember, in Pisces energy, your fifth house is very much about what the heart is longing for, yearning for. Now, with the Pentacles, it may be some sense of security or some sort of investment that brings about a kind of tangible, real manifestation for you, you know. And the Page is very much committed and eager and intent on following through with a path. I think that can be super beneficial for you because it gives you a focus, right? And I think, you know, without that sort of goal or that dream or that vision to reach for, then sometimes we can end up a little bit floundering around in the path or get too stuck in the past. And so what I really like about it is it's definitely coming in a month where there is a lot of chaos and there's a lot of potential to be very distracted, but there's something that you know you're working on or working towards that has real meaning and depth for you. And that is something that will absolutely carry you during the month of March. Now, remember, it's a big time for renegotiation of situations, particularly in relationships with regards to agreements as well. We've got Juno, asteroid goddess, going retrograde in Sagittarius. And so we're trying to figure out, how do we get more freedom but still remain in situations that allow us that connectedness? And, you know, there's a strength that's needed there. right? Maybe we have to be strong to sort of call out and say, this is not working for me. Or these are the terms that I now need to look at this. And, you know, when we're looking at anything legal, or, you know, any kind of agreement that has you too restricted, you know, there's going to be a deep desire to want to stretch beyond that. And, you know, there's definitely a sense in March of knowing that you need to move beyond your comfort zone, right? That's like a given almost. Sometimes we even feel the shove when the eclipse happens because something will be removed or dissolved, and then we're like, okay, we've got no choice now. So there's that sort of you know, energy that we can be dealing with. And the Two of Swords does indicate, I think, that you're left in a situation or some sort of position, and maybe where something is turned away from you or no longer on the table, no longer viable, no longer an option. Then we have to get a little bit creative. But remember, your Empress energy helps you to step up, actually. And like I said, renewal, resiliency, and the light comes, the warmth, the clarity, the motivation, and that equinox on the 20th reminds you of how strong you are. And if you need to be reminded, then events, circumstances, memories, things will come about that will show you what you're made of and what you're capable of. And maybe you just need that reminder. Maybe you just need that little bit of confidence through the course of March. Now listen, on the 21st, Vesta is shifting retrograde in your sign. And so, you know, a lot of the work that's happening for you, you know, the way that you take care of yourself, and remember, we're going into Aries season with 6th house, is about that internal dialogue, right? And you're soul searching. You're deeply soul searching within you to try to get the answers. Maybe when you look outwardly, it's too confusing. The landscape is changing too much. You know, people's behaviors or actions are shifting like at a speed that feels almost hard to catch up with. So the only way, the only option is to try to understand, where am I? What do I need? What do I value? What am I supposed to be learning about this? Who am I in this relationship? What are my desires that are being met or unmet? And, you know, all of these questions that I think when you give yourself the chance to sort of, you know, be in this transitionary month, and an important month, a powerful, dynamic month, but also just to recognize that, you know, it's compassion and kindness that's going to really be the order of the day. Now, the sun suggests to me that your strength pays off, that what you're reaching for comes to fruition, but you gotta like hold the line, you gotta hold your position, you gotta not yield, you've got to, you know, dig into that fixed energy. And one thing I know to be true about Scorpios is, you know, you can be relentless in your inner resolve when you fixate on something that you know has merit, that you know is important, that you know matters, and you can follow it all the way. And there's something about that needing to happen through this month of March that will support the outcome. So we're digging deep, and there's some inner child work that's even coming up in regards to this. You know, there's maternal healing energy coming from the Empress here also. And maybe that's how far you're going back, especially with Venus, as you assess your own value, and particularly how it shows up in relationships, particularly with women. Okay, and then we come toward the 29th, our solar eclipse, new moon in Aries. And there's a fire, you know, there's something that gets lit toward the end of the month for you. And it's sort of, for me, just feels a little bit unstoppable. It's just like all of the reasons why you think it can't work, it won't work, it couldn't work, are all of a sudden not disregarded, but just, you know, put into context. And you find a way to just kind of even go against the grain or go against your own logical thinking, because the call, the nudge, the pull towards something is greater. And like I said, you're not who you were. And this is the point. You're at a stage where it's like, I have to do this because I need my life to have more purpose. I need more possibility, opportunity. And I need this for me. there's an ambition and there's almost a combative energy. Just make sure you're not waging war with yourself, but there's definitely a sort of inner warrior that takes hold. And no matter how much disruption and chaos and discord goes on externally, you're finding a way to create within you this sanctuary. And yes, we have to dig deep sometimes, and digging deep when we've already excavated within an inch of what we thought was possible can sometimes feel like a relentless, exhaustive task. And yet we show what we're capable of, we show what we're made of. So your Aries inner warrior is stepping forth in a powerful way. Now, Venus and Mercury retrograde will shift into Pisces towards the end of the month, which will maybe just balance out a little bit of that fire if you're finding that a little bit more overwhelming, or it's creating too much frustration or even a little anxiety. But we do have a big planetary shift with Neptune moving into Aries on the 30th as well. Remember, as I said, it's like a power surge month, okay? But the sun is bringing in some good news, some positive news, and some good feeling that kind of helps you to sort of realize, okay, you know, this could work, this feels right. Yeah, there's an alignment that comes in, and you'll hold on to that, and rightly you should, okay? Now, if you're new to the channel, the last 3 cards we look at in the extended reading, Scorpio, I hope you'll join me. You'll find a link below. We talk another 25 minutes. We also look at personal and a relationship card for you as well. Just going to go ahead and clarify these cards to see the direction we're going to take this for you, okay? We've got 5 of Swords and the Knight of Wands. Let's have a look at this 2 of Swords energy. We've got 9 of Pentacles, Page of Cups, also the Knight wanted to come through. Now please do take a moment, check out my website. We've got the Tower, 5 of Wands here. RomyWiser.com. You are going to find ways to work with me if you're after a personal reading. Also all my sacred titles, my journal, my book, my deck. Also all of the sacred products that I create to support you on your spiritual journey. So I hope you'll take a moment to come through and connect. Okay, what about this energy of the Sun? Queen of Pentacles, another 2 of Swords coming through. You are sort of repeatedly put in a position where you have to keep making decisions, and if it's decisions you've been avoiding, it's almost like there's no choice this month. You know, it's kind of like this will be dealt with, but it still feels like it can bring you to a more peaceful resolution and balance. Now let's have a look at the Life Soul Vision Oracle. You know, Venus retrograde can notoriously sort of disrupt where we're at in regards to our relationship. But again, you know, it can review things in an important way. But remember, any commitments or agreements that are discussed will also need to be revisited to kind of feel a deeper sense of security and certainty once we come out of these cycles and we station direct. You got some beautiful cards here. The Gathering, Nourish Your Inner Wealth, Root Energy. We've got the Rainbow Dragon and the Wild Rose, Energy Conversations, and the Vortex of Boundless Grace. Really beautiful. Okay, let's have a look at one final oracle for Scorpio. Okay, we've got the energy of accountability. Responsibility is a gift of love to yourself and others. Right, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you'll come on to the extended. Have a beautiful month of March, Scorpio. Enjoy equinox. I will see you again next time. Take good care.